welcome back to my channel. I'm Andrea for those who are new here. For those coming back, welcome back. It's good to have you here. I'm just pulling up the questions on my phone again because we're gonna do part 2 of the Q&A and we'll see how many more questions I can get through because you guys asked a lot of really awesome questions. First question is from Shima over at the Desert Rose Journals, which I highly recommend. It's become one of, well, I suppose I can't pick favorites, but if I did, Shima would be one of them. So Shima asks, for your Q&A, I want to know how long have you been teaching and what's the best part you like about it? Great question, Shima. I've been teaching for a while, so I'm trying to think like exactly how long it's been. I think I started teaching in January of 2010? No. 2009. January of 2009, I think, is when I started teaching. It was a couple years after finishing my first master's degree, and I had done that program with the intention of teaching afterwards and teaching in a film department at a community college. And then I ended up getting a job as an adjunct instructor in a theater department. So I had the master's degree, which you just have to have a master's degree and then at least a certain number of credits in the subject you'd be teaching. So between my master's degree in film and my bachelor's degree in theater, I had enough theater credits to teach it. So the first class I taught was at the modern drama class that I'm teaching this semester, but now I'm at a different school, and an acting class, which it just felt so weird teaching acting because I'm not an actor anymore, but I actually really enjoy teaching acting. I wish I could continue teaching it. I taught at that school for a little while, and then I moved over to a different community college and started teaching theater for them, and then was doing that throughout my second master's. And then when I got into the PhD program, then I started teaching English classes for my department that I'm doing my PhD in. Time goes by so quackly. Time goes by so quackly. Time goes by so quickly. God, Andrea, use your words. Yeah, so I've been teaching for a long time, and what's the best part you like about it? Oh, goodness. There's so much I like about it. I teach college, so my students are all roughly 18 years old. Some are a little bit older, especially when I teach a 200 level class. And I have had a few younger students. I've had a few who are still in high school and taking college credit. But for the most part, my students are in that 18 to 19-year-old age range, which I really love because they're old enough to be legal adults, and I can treat them as such. So I don't have to coddle them. I don't have to give them special treatment. I don't have to worry about what if they go home and complain to their parents. They're adults, and I can treat them that way. And if someone's really acting up, I can kick them out. I don't have to keep them in class if they're causing a disruption because of some weird reason. But they're also still young enough that I can have a real impact. And it doesn't happen every single semester with every single student, but in the several years that I've been teaching, I have had students come to me afterwards and say, you know, because of you or because of your class, I'm now doing something amazing. And I've been able to write letters of recommendation for students as they go off and pursue their big dreams. And it's really interesting when they kind of stay in touch and to see what they end up doing. And I love when I hear that I've made an impact. And then on a smaller scale, I also love when I just realize there's that moment where they finally do understand something. When you see that light bulb go off and you know they get it. Those are just fun moments. And I love interacting with the students, and I love when they share their different experiences and everything that they have to bring to the table and offer to the class. I've been fortunate enough to have different, international students, and they bring such a great perspective. Students from Arizona, students from outside of Arizona, and so it's just a lot of fun. It's just really interesting. So yeah, I could ramble on and on and on about teaching because I really do love it. So next question is from Simply Maya 15 is the channel name. She's great. I highly recommend checking out her videos. I really loved watching her channel. And correct me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, darling, because this is the problem with YouTube, because when I'm teaching, I tell my students all the time, don't let me butcher your name. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because I hate getting to the end of the semester and seeing my reviews and seeing, oh, she mispronounced my name all semester long. But on YouTube, it's really hard to correct each other if we mispronounce something. So please correct me, all of you, if I ever pronounce your name wrong, or your channel name wrong. But Maya asks, she asked a really good question. If you were to write a blockbuster novel, movie coming out soon, in parentheses, what kind of novel would it be and why? I've never talked about it on here, but I have actually written a novel before, and I'm working on my second one. Neither has been published, and God knows they will probably never be published. I wish. Getting a novel published these days is like winning the lottery. So I have written, and I never thought that I could write a novel until I did it. Both are very different. I don't know how much I want. One is a supernatural romantic thriller, which was really weird to write because that is not the genre that I usually read. I think I started writing it because I wanted to see if it was a problem, if the genre itself was just inherently flawed, and that's why I didn't love any of the samples from that genre that I've seen or read, or if it was just the ones that I've seen and read. There goes my air conditioning. It's already set as high as I'm willing to let it go, so it'll turn off eventually. I ended up writing a story that I really liked, that is part one of probably 4 books that I would have to write if this ever did get published. But then the second novel that I've been working on, for a long, it's pretty much since I started my PhD, is a contemporary romance. I guess you'd call it chick lit, but as I said in a previous video, it was in my bookshelf tour. I hate that name for a genre. So romantic kind of comedy drama. I've been working on that one for a while because I just don't have as much time to write, but that would probably be, like, if I could pick either of the two to push forward towards publication, if I just magically got an agent and a publishing deal and I had to pick between the 2 manuscripts that I've got, that would be the one, just because that is my favorite thing. And it's set in London, and yeah, that's my little escape project. Whenever I need to just get away from things, I pull up that project on my iPad and write for a bit. I need to do that again because it's been a long time. So yeah, great question. I really liked that, so thank you. Another question, I've got these all mixed together. Marie from And the Color Green, I think she asked something else, but I can't remember, but again, they're all randomly mixed in on my phone. Marie asked, what kind of coat do you wear in England? This is actually a really interesting question because I've gone through a few different types on my winter trips. The first couple times I went, I brought like a really heavy wool coat and ended up spending half the time carrying it around because it really wasn't that cold. The first time I went to visit London during the winter, I kept getting asked, oh, but isn't it gonna be cold? And I'm sure to London people and like English people, it probably does feel really cold, but I like the cold. To me, upper 30s, low 40s Fahrenheit isn't really that, like, it's cold, but it's not technically freezing. And the underground, the tube is not it's pretty warm down there. The shops always have the heating on. Museums are always heated. So yeah, the last couple times I've gone in the winter, I've ended up also bringing a lighter coat. The second time I went in the winter, I brought a lighter coat along with the heavy wool coat and wore the lighter one more often. And then the last time I went 2 winters ago, I just brought a leather coat that I bought at Target, and I was fine with a sweater underneath on colder days and a really big like blanket scarf. I was fine. So yeah, I'm not yet sure if I'm gonna stick with the leather coat or if I'm gonna get a new coat this time. And then Adventures in Beauty, Katie, I think is your name? Correct me again if I'm wrong, but Adventures in Beauty is a great channel. I highly recommend checking it out. Her question was also really good. If you could use 3 fictional characters to describe yourself, who would they be? So she said that this is based on the thing that we've seen going around on Instagram and Twitter. It's a really tough question because there's a lot of fictional characters that I've really kind of been drawn to over the years. So like this answer could totally change at any point if you ask me again. And like fictional characters, like book fictional characters, movie fictional characters. I think Anne Shirley from Anne of Green Gables. Again, as I've admitted before, I haven't read the books, but I did grow up watching the movies and love Megan Follows, who portrayed her, and there was something about her portrayal. I was absolutely that girl who was living in a fantasy land and had imaginary, not so much imaginary friends, but just would create imaginary scenarios and would kind of live in a dream fantasy land for half the day. I think another character, and just because it's the DVD case has caught my eye, Kate Winslet's character from The Holiday, definitely relate to her character a lot. So that brings me up to 2. I'm scanning my bookshelves as well. Fictional characters. 3 is so hard, so I'm just gonna go with Jane from Jane Eyre. And I don't know exactly why, but there's just always been something about that character that I've been drawn to that I really relate to. I think the sense of, yay, the air conditioning finally went off. I think just her general sense of practicality and realism, and she doesn't really live in a fantasy world, and she's been through a lot. She still manages to remain optimistic and independent. And yeah, I just really love Jane from Jane Eyre. If I didn't pick her, then it would probably be, oh, I nearly forgot about Anne Elliot from Persuasion. Because I was thinking, there's got to be a Jane Austen character, and I feel like everyone goes for Elizabeth Bennet, but I read Pride and Prejudice first, but when I read Persuasion, and I've seen, there's 2 really great film versions of it, and both of them I really, really relate to, especially the more recent one with Sally Hawkins and Rupert Penry Jones, because she's portrayed by a younger actress in that film, Sally Hawkins, which just I relate to even more. Sometimes they'll cast an older actress to really play up the whole she's an old maid kind of a thing, but in reality during that period 25 was an old maid, so it just is more powerful. So thank you for that one, because I really enjoyed that. So next question, Leah Tackles from the channel Leah Tackles, which you should totally go check out. I say that about everyone who's asked me a question that has a channel, but what can I say? I follow really awesome people on YouTube and you should check them out. Her questions, what is a favorite Christmas tradition and what was your childhood like? So favorite Christmas tradition, I think because of growing up in the Army, it was really hard to have traditions. So in terms of like going out and doing stuff, because we moved all the time. So I loved living in Germany during the holidays. That was amazing. But then like living in Kansas was very different from living here in Arizona. But there are definite, and this one I am going to kind of run through a little bit more quickly because I will probably talk about Christmas traditions a lot more during Vlogmas. But there are definitely cookie recipes that we always had, and our Christmas decorations. We had the same tree, artificial tree, for as long as I can remember. I don't remember ever having a real tree. I know we did at some point, like when I was 3, but my mom bought this artificial tree from Sears or JCPenney, I can't remember which, when I was like 4 or 5 years old. We've always had this thing, and I still have it. It's the tree that you will see once Vlogmas starts. So my tree, I call it the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, and I'll explain that more with Vlogmas, but my dear Charlie Brown Christmas tree is over 30 years old now. So I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you. And the angel that I put on top is the same angel that we've had. I think my parents bought that angel around the time that I was born, so the angel is the same age as me, roughly. I will get clarification from my mom about that, and I will update you during Vlogmas. But yeah, I'm really excited for Vlogmas because I'm excited to share more of like the Christmas traditions and Christmas memories and stuff with you guys, because that's just my favorite thing. And then her second question, what was your childhood like? That question is really interesting because it's so hard to describe growing up in the Army, especially to people who did not grow up in any branch of the military. I created the Army Brats tag, or the Military Brat tag. Mine was kind of the Army edition. So that is back. I'll try to link that, but if I forget, it is in my channel, so just click on my videos and scroll back a ways. Growing up in the military, my childhood in general, in 20 seconds or less. Complicated, exciting, always different, constantly changing, frustrating at times, lonely at times, because you would say goodbye to friends and then it would take a while to make new ones. Life-changing. I feel like everyone's childhood is life-changing in one way or another, but when you grow up in the military, like, I can't even separate my childhood from the military. Like, it's just when you ask me about my childhood was the military. And I experienced things that other Americans didn't experience. I mean, when you have, you know, the Berlin Wall practically in your backyard, you know, metaphorically speaking, it was, you know, more than just the backyard. You know, you're living in Germany during a very historic moment. And like, that's something that stands out to me so much more than when you talk to other Americans. Like, it was a blip on their radar. So my childhood was definitely, it was interesting. If I had to sum it up in one word, interesting would be the word. So thank you, Leah. And I will definitely cover the Christmas one in much more detail once we get to Vlogmas, because, oh my goodness, I love Christmas. So I'm going to end part 2 there. I'm going to keep going and film part 3. So thank you very much for watching part 2. I will be back very shortly with part 3. And thank you for your questions, because these really have been so much fun to answer. I'm really, really, really enjoying them. So I will see you all soon. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.